The development of perfectionism and chronic anxiety. Have you ever stopped to wonder why you feel the need to be perfect in everything you do? Many of us struggle with impossibly high standards, but for some, this perfectionism becomes a source of chronic anxiety and constant stress. According to the sources, this behavior is often a direct result of childhood trauma and the environment we grew up in. Research published in the Journal of Research and Personality indicates a clear connection between traumatic early experiences and the development of these perfectionist traits. This often stems from a childhood where parents set extremely high expectations and demanded that everything be just perfect. Think back to your school days. Did your parents refuse to accept a B+, insisting that only an A was acceptable? Perhaps they ignored your own interests, forcing you to study for hours even after your homework was finished, or dictating your career path, telling you that you had to go to law school even if you dreamed of being an artist. These demands frequently extended to the smallest details of daily life, such as your room never being clean enough or your chores not being done exactly the way they wanted to. Growing up under such immense pressure creates a profound sense of exhaustion. You learn very early on that your best is never quite good enough for your parents. Over time, this external pressure becomes internalized. It shapes your personality and becomes a part of how you view the world. As an adult, this can manifest as an overwhelming sense of anxiety whenever you feel that something is not perfect. You might find yourself in a relentless and unsatisfied pursuit of perfection that leaves you feeling empty. In some cases, this can even lead to symptoms of serious depression because you are never able to find true satisfaction in your own life or your achievements. If you identify with these feelings and want to learn more about how childhood shapes us, comment number 1 below to see the rest of this video. Beyond the internal struggle of perfectionism and the constant weight of anxiety, childhood trauma can often take a very physical form in our lives. This leads us directly into the second major way your early experiences can shape your personality, which is the development of complex eating disorders. For many survivors of trauma, the mental pain they feel deep inside eventually expresses itself through their physical bodies. According to the sources, there is a clear and documented link between emotional trauma in childhood and the onset of conditions like anorexia or binge eating disorder later in life. You might be particularly vulnerable to these challenges if you grew up with parents who placed an extreme focus on your physical appearance or your body image during your most formative years. If your worth was constantly tied to how you looked or how much you weighed, that external pressure can easily turn into an internal battle. But for many trauma survivors, these eating habits are about much more than just physical appearance. Instead, they serve as a vital mechanism for coping with overwhelming negative emotions that feel impossible to process in any other way. By strictly controlling your weight or monitoring every single thing you eat, you might finally feel like you are gaining a sense of control over your life. When your environment feels chaotic, or when you feel that your entire existence is spiraling out of your hands, food becomes the one thing you can actually own. This ownership provides a temporary sense of security in an otherwise unpredictable world. Similarly, some people turn to emotional eating, where food essentially becomes your best friend and your only source of comfort when life gets you down. However, while these habits might offer a moment of relief, they act as a double-edged sword. In the end, disordered eating often adds more stress and weight to your original trauma, rather than actually resolving the root cause of your pain. While the physical struggles with food and the mental battle of perfectionism are exhausting, there is another way your mind might try to protect you from the pain of your past. Sometimes, trauma does not just change how you act, it actually makes you feel stuck in your childhood. This brings us to a psychological phenomenon known as age regression. According to the sources, the heavy emotional burdens of childhood trauma like shame, guilt, humiliation, and fear can pull you back into the past. These deep feelings can make the everyday responsibilities and stresses of being an adult feel completely terrifying and unmanageable. When you are faced with the daily stress of working a full-time job, paying your bills on time, or making major life decisions that affect your future, You might feel like you are simply not capable of handling it all on your own. As a result, your mind uses age regression as a psychological defense mechanism. You might find yourself returning to childlike behaviors to help you cope with this overwhelming stress. This can manifest in several different ways, such as using baby talk, throwing what look like temper tantrums, or seeking comfort in stuffed animals to self-soothe when the world around you feels too loud or chaotic. While people in your life might view these behaviors as immature or strange, the sources explain that they are actually responses to being triggered by traumatic memories or stressful events. This regression allows you as a survivor to temporarily retreat to a state where you felt safer, even if it complicates your adult social life or makes you feel out of place. It is your inner child reaching out for help because the adult world feels like it is far too much to bear. Stop what you are doing and look at the nearest object to your left. If it is something that brings you comfort, you understand this feeling more than you know. Share what that object is in the comments to see how many others are on this journey with you. While retreating into age regression is one way your mind tries to handle stress, the trauma you experienced as a child also dictates how you connect with the people around you today. This leads us to the fourth significant way childhood trauma shapes your personality, which is the formation of insecure attachment styles. According to the attachment theory discussed in the sources, your way of thinking and relating to others was deeply shaped by how your parents treated you when you were very young. If your parents were neglectful, if they ignored your presence, or if they failed to respond to your cries for help, you likely did not develop what psychologists call a secure base. Instead, you may have developed what is known as an anxious or preoccupied attachment style. Growing up in an environment where your basic emotional needs were not met can leave you with a deep-seated sense of low self-worth. You might carry a persistent belief that you are fundamentally unlovable or that there is something inherently wrong with you. Because you were not given the reassurance you needed as a child, you grow into an adult who craves intense love and attention from others. You are constantly searching for the security you never had. However, this desire is simultaneously plagued by a powerful and often paralyzing fear of rejection and abandonment. Because you lack that internal secure foundation, you might find yourself willing to do almost anything to gain approval from the people who mean a lot to you. This creates a constant and exhausting cycle of seeking external validation just to soothe your internal feelings of inadequacy. You might find yourself overthinking every text message, constantly apologizing, or changing who you are just to keep someone from leaving. This struggle is driven by the persistent fear that if you are not perfect, or if you stop earning their love, you will eventually be left all alone. If you see these patterns in your own relationships, keep watching, because understanding this is the first step toward change. While some people respond to neglect by seeking constant reassurance, others protect themselves from the pain of their past by building an emotional wall. This brings us to the avoidant or dismissive attachment style. According to the sources, if you have this style, you likely view yourself as strong and fiercely independent. However, because of the poor treatment you received from your parents, you may have developed a belief that people are inherently untrustworthy or bad. To stay safe, you might avoid intimacy altogether and refuse to share your true feelings, believing that you do not need anyone else in your life to be happy. There is also the disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style. This pattern typically stems from hot and cold parenting, where your home environment was completely unpredictable. One moment everything was fine, and the next you were being yelled at or showered with insults. This creates a confusing paradox in your adult life. You desperately want to be close to others, yet you are simultaneously terrified that they will mistreat you without any warning. This constant uncertainty leaves you unsure of how to behave and can even lead to an unstable self-image where you are not sure who you really are. Looking back at everything we have covered, from the crushing weight of perfectionism and the physical toll of eating disorders to the retreat of age regression and the complexities of attachment, it is clear that childhood trauma deeply shapes your personality. The most valuable lesson to take away is that these behaviors were once your mind's way of helping you survive a difficult environment. You are not alone in these experiences, and recognizing these patterns is the first step toward healing. By understanding your past, you gain the power to shape a healthier future. If you found this video helpful, please share it with a friend who might need to hear this. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell icon so you never miss our next video on your journey toward mental wellness. Thanks for watching.